Waseem.
Okay, and thank you so much, actually, giving such a mouthful of my introduction. I'm going to actually also share screen. And where am I gone? So, and can somebody come over and help me?
Sure, sir.
Where is it? Like, okay, let me use this. Um, yes. So I think what I did this time, I forwarded a handout to you, and also I have put this on the screen. There is just one phrase added to the title and the topic, that is digital means. And that is where I wanted to start, actually, because I think whatever else we do about publication, it is growing very digital, everything, and everything is being electronified. So we need to maybe be aware of where humanities also is being carried. With that in our mind, I would just like to maybe go back and mention one of the sessions that you had about digital humanities. That was with Naila Jaraks and Aisha Farid. So I was just browsing through and found that, yeah, everything is, of course, computationally engaged now, including research and teaching. And that is what they must have talked to you. But there was also this component, and I would like you to maybe dig deeper into it and excavate more about it, which is publishing. And I think on that, I don't want to pose that I'm an expert and that I can tell you everything about how publications are being done through electronic means or digital means and what is happening. We might have, all of us, our own experiences based on what we want to do. This may differ with disciplines, this may differ with our individual projects, and this may differ with actually how digitization itself responds to what we want to do. So I think it's a big game. So I cannot like put a point or a comma or a full stop anywhere. So maybe at one point later on, if you have any experience regarding digital means and your publications, you can share it and you can talk about it. That being my first point, I think I will just quickly first mention three major means that I have always been consulting since 2008, also being part of one of the MLA, Modern Language Association. If as humanities person you don't know about MLA, you must know. So my participation in MLA on digital humanities in 2013. But before that, at Duke, in 2008, I was shared one book, which I think now your library must have. If not, please, I think I will share this resource with Dr. Zia. And they can always bring it to the library so that you may make full use of it. It was way back in 2008, and Catherine Hales, by name, shared this electronic literature, the book that she had produced, and she shared it with me. Because I was working on emerging forms of literature. Now, emerging, they still are, but of course, electronic emergence has taken a shape now. So all the new horizons about literary readings have changed over time. I would like to quickly read from here one small passage so that we, at that time and now, we may still be dwindling, and I think we have to dwindle between our traditional ways and the digital ways. So this is on page 46, and it says, digital and analog processes together perform in more complex ways than the digital alone. Digital alone. For each has strengths complementary to the other. Digital processes because they are discrete, have much finer control over error than analog processes. By definition, analog processes vary continuously along a spectrum, rectifying small errors in difficult because all real points along a number of lines can theoretically be occupied. This is the main reason why analog computing, which flourished until the 1950s, lost out to digital computing. Nevertheless, analog processes have strengths of their own. Through morphological resemblance and the complexity of continuous variation allows them to encode information in more diverse ways than digital encoding. So we see that analog, which is our traditional way, still holds something. You can call them gray areas. If something in terms of data collection is black and white to us, humanities deals with more than black and white. And we all know that we set our pace on ambivalent ways, where we are skeptic about things, we question, we critically look at them. So, and that is the area where humanities connects with the digital. The second, I just mentioned my MLA session, and I think this is just one example, and I don't know if something is still going on regarding electronic generation of literature as such. But I could find way back Mohsin Hamid, and we all know Mohsin Hamid. If you don't know, with reference to literature, please do try to find out who Mohsin Hamid is. So he's very famous, on which I also wrote a paper, The Former General in His Labyrinth. That's a digitized or electronic form of short story, I think still available online. So you can find what it tells you and how actually literature is now also being produced, not in book forms, but also electronically. The third one is something that I used to use and still use for theoretical purposes. And that is a very seminal book, actually, Raman Selden, Contemporary Literary Theory, which is a Routledge publication. The very latest one has a wonderful chapter on digital humanities, if you want to consult it. And I think that is where I would like you people to actually begin and think in terms of how things are changing, not only with other disciplines, but with humanities as well. Okay, so let me, yeah. So I think, I mean, I would like to mention something with reference to Dr. Zia, and she did forward that email to me, and I think I would like to talk about that as well. We all have conferences and we are very alert on it now, but I think this is one particular one that she did mention. Computational humanities research, which is part of digital humanities. So, and that also talks about artificial intelligence, that may also talk about digital humanities as such and its variations. This is going to be somewhere in July. I think July is the date. You can get information from Dr. Zia, and you can send your abstract for this conference. I would encourage you people to do that. Now, what is CHR? What is computational humanities research? There are a lot of avenues that can be opened, and the CFP does talk about it, and I think you can explore it yourself. But I think the computational models that are being offered can be either quantitative and statistical. They can be cultural. They can be empirical. They can be conflicting interpretations. They can be based on translations. They can be based on the dissemination of information and teaching, and so many others. And also the challenges that actually artificial intelligence offers us now. These theoretical reflections, and I must refer here that the conference actually also enhances the theoretical reflections and approaches that we have to do regarding whatever else we do, even data that we think something that completes us, but it never does actually. So even if we think in terms of data as archive, there is always aspects to data that are beyond calculation. Like the other day, I was talking about archives and museology, which is related to museums, and say architecture involved as well, the buildings for that matter. How actually we can think in terms of emotional history. What is it that actually emotions have to do with history? And I think that is something that we as people of humanities try to look into, that if data is a building, what is beyond that building? So I think this also connects in terms of the things that are visible, but other gray areas that are not visible. So this being a prerogative of humanities, I think we also get into what is known to be humanistic or humane, and that is where our research carries us. Could it be through literature? Could it be through art? Now, literature can be, and I think thoda sa agar bilingual hum ho bhi jaएं, it involves our languages as well. Urdu bhi jisme aati hai, aur bahut si zabaneं hain. So all this actually is part of humanities because we think differently in terms of our native languages and our acquired knowledges and languages, and now also computer itself and computer language itself being one type of discourse. Some information that I could pick about digital humanities from Wikipedia, and I think no harm actually acknowledging as a reference that we all search for. So there are many things that are involved, but I think that it develops a sort of intersection of humanities and arts with the technologies and the computing for that matter. Computer being one form of machine that is used as our technology means. So giving us the impression also, and we being people of literature who are good at reading books, telling us that now it's not just the written word that matters, but also that the knowledge has changed its medium to digitization as well. So screen also has become a form of interaction and intersection for us. There are many books, but I have referred to these two, the one by Matthew Gold and the other by Barry and Pedro Jord, about digital humanities. You can make your own search actually, because there are so many resources available. One can easily get confused. But I think the key points that I wanted to bring forth was that digital humanities is known to be a big tent because it offers various models, including from 2-dimension to 3-dimension and maybe more dimensions coming up now. So where is it that we, in terms of humanities, literature, art, which we try to bracket into our own definition, that is our search for the truth and the reality. So where is it that we find reality? In how many dimensions actually we explore them? And that is where also digital humanities actually helps us. Digital technology is also bringing in new forms of realities and new forms of dimensions for us to look into what can be known as knowledge. And I think another important thing we must know that, as I mentioned, that humanities also is a faculty dealing with various disciplines. Each discipline has its own way of dealing with the digitization process and its own way of actually exploring the truth or the reality. So if that is the case, I would like to mention actually particularly, because that is where I tried to find some difference in terms of that each country also and each region also has its own unique history of digital humanities. Now, we may differ on that because generally we assume that all digitization is universal. Even if it's a language, it may bring in certain tools that can be common, but I think diversity is the taste of research. And that is where we find that each of the way of working, even through the same means, that could be digital means, is different. And that is where we actually are open to more and more research. So this other book that I mentioned, Barry, Digital Humanities, talking about knowledge, that knowledge, and we know that digitization is data collection, and it's like an algorithm that goes on, and how it is actually, the key word that he has used is for data is stack upon stack. And that is where we find like all these means of Facebook or webs or whatever we are exploring internet, that we carry on stack after stack, and there is no end to it. So knowledge is that vastly spread around us. But yes, that we have to acknowledge that digital humanities, whatever else it might be, or digitization itself, is a language. And that computers have their own language that we learn. And that is where we call it, and I think it has been referred here as well, digital philology. So how do we as researchers of humanities actually get trained into digital philology is perhaps one of our concerns. So that's perhaps very important for us to know that along with other languages, this language also is very important for literature people as well. And we have to actually move into, and that was the reason that I tried to send this whole handout once again, where I would like all of us to look into whatever else has been said before in the previous sessions. Of course, there are recordings available for that as well. But how actually we relook at what we are doing, and that's more important. A very short but quick distinction between digitization and digitalization. That digitization refers to the act making analog information, while digitalization is the whole process. So the quick difference between the two would be that one is about information and the other is about processes. And we see that we today talk about that we are going to digitalize everything. So the processes that we get into, but where is it that we carry that information and digitize it? And that's happening with lots of libraries actually, and things are available easily now in digitized forms. One more point I want to refer to, and with reference to that every country and every region have their own way of looking at digitization. I think a very interesting topic we can always pick on, and something happening, and I'm very lucky to be presiding that session at MLA 2024 in January. I have been offered for that. So that is post-colonial digital humanities. If digital humanities is a truth, and it's a reality, and it's a fact around us, where is it that actually technology becomes a mean of, if not colonization exact, but surveillance maybe? But on the other hand, what is it the post-colonial call about digital humanities? How do we from our region and from our area of interest look into what digitization is for us? How actually we expand the horizon for us? So these can be interesting things for us to notice even from the humanities perspective. So I would very much encourage that you explore MLA and 2024 convention and try to find out, if you are interested, that you join the organization and also be part of the session. Now, about these new things that I have brought, artificial intelligence. I have raised a question in my handout, which you all must have received, that what is AI? Of course, we know it's artificial intelligence. But then if you read that particular, the one by Bowden about, that's a sort of introduction to artificial intelligence, which is um, from the book. It's a Oxford Companion to the Mind. So the note over there also talks about lot many things, AL for that matter, artificial life, but also talks about AAAI, which is Association for the Advancement of Artificial Intelligence. Now that's something that happened ever since 1987. Now we see a lot of advancement already has happened regarding artificial intelligence. And when it comes to humanities, maybe other disciplines, of course, other disciplines as well, but how it has also affected our teaching, how new challenges are being offered now in terms of chat GPT, which is generative, pre-trained transformer. So where is it that I think we all know, I don't have to talk much about it. We are all trying to experiment and explore through chat GPT. But then many of the details along with many other, and I'll quickly maybe talk about few things from these three handouts that I also forwarded to you, these different articles. The one was Bowden, as I mentioned. And I think very interestingly, and you can read on your own and your own way, but how actually it talks about the intelligence that comes out of it. How actually artificial intelligence is connecting humanities through maybe two major disciplines, psychology and philosophy. So, and then this whole sense of gaming and programming, which are part of the computational skills. So how knowledge is being bracketed differently. Now, what does psychology do? And what does actually philosophy do? So there can be many things. Psychology, of course, makes it possible, the concordance actually that we develop and how actually the mind operates through these computational means. But at the same time, the philosophy of it makes us think more critically. So if skepticism is part of humanities, raising question is part of humanities, I think that is what artificial intelligence does. In the manner of praxis, where it thinks self-reflectively and starts challenging its own entity. Artificial intelligence, what do we mean by it? After all, it's artificial. So what is the real intelligence? And I think that is where we always debate, and we can debate as humanities people, what comes first, artificiality of it or intelligence itself? There is always a scope for accessing the origin. So what is the origin? The truth and the reality, and that is, I think, where all humanities tries to carry us. The other two articles that I sent to you, one by Elaine Reach, so many things have been talked there, but I think what I liked about it was that it is more about artificial intelligence is more about what people do, and it is more about problem solving. But then that it also gets into the areas of languages and cultures and how, whatever humans have developed. We always try to look through data and try to compose things in terms of formulas, say pattern matching for that matter. Music now is coming through machines, and we are trying to control it through machines, and of course experimenting, making music sound different from what the original source could be, human voice. So new languages and new nomenclatures are coming up with this source of digital humanities. But I think with us as people of humanities, if many areas of knowledge are explored and exist now, many still are missing. And that is where I think Elaine Rich asks us to do more. This other article of 2023 by Goodland and Baker, which was very challenging. I don't know how authentic this article is, but you can find it always online. And how actually child's brain recognize one from the other. And the wonderful example that the authors give is that of kangaroo versus elephant. Where is it that actually, if a kangaroo is printed on a simple mug of tea, where is it that you can, the artificial intelligence won't take it as kangaroo, but rather take it as a cup or a mug, or it will not take it as a mug, but call it a kangaroo. So I think while it's just a print on the mug, so what is it that artificial intelligence would access first? Human brain still works on that better and finds out that it's, after all, a cup of tea or for tea, but that there is something printed on it, of course, is part of it. Much is being talked about chat GPT, which I would like to actually listen from you people, but that it is a source of commercialization, of course it has become. That it is something, a source for surveillance and capitalism, of course it has. But that it also is a sort of large language model, whether it fits in there or not. But it is a sort of a language that is entering into some large model. Interesting thing that we as teachers may think, and I think that also becomes part of it, that chat GPT is offering a lot of challenge for the teachers, but it is also leading to some sort of dystopia. That was all that I wanted to talk about in terms of what's new that I have tried to bring in. But the other things that are already there, and we did talk about it last time, and quickly to pick on them, we have like to find out how actually publication is possible now through digital means, how authentic the journals are that we access. How do we write for humanities? Is ChatGPT a great help for us to get our paper corrected in terms of whatever is required by a certain journal? This may, of course, tag into our classroom activities as well, where we see now papers being written and coming through these digital means. How far any ethics is involved into it? How do we actually motivate people to still look for the origin, to write originally, and think in terms of whatever humanities says first, and maybe its digitization says later? Because that, after all, is just a means for how we try to develop knowledge through humanities. On page 3 of the handout, I have mentioned, and I must actually, I think I forgot to move ahead with things. This we have said already, yeah. Reasons for getting published and why publish in English. That is something we have always been thinking. Might be, I don't know if you are good at German or French or any other language and would like to publish in that language. While, as I said, that computational language itself is a language now. Where is it that we also, in terms of humanities, get into ESP, which is English for specific purposes? So every discipline might have an English of its own kind to be dealt with. Why do we publish? Are there institutional requirements related to it? What practical experiences and trainings and processes we get involved into? Above all, as teachers or as researchers, how committed we are to be published. And there are, of course, lots of pros and cons that are related to it. I did mention this this resource even last time by Iriana, sorry, by Iriana. And this is mainly from the world of media, but how actually humanities grows more cross-disciplinary and multidisciplinary, even transdisciplinary, is something that we can always track through. Just to quickly move forward, that the current publishing processes, whether they are done at national or international level, what sort of choices and submissions we have to actually go through. This is important actually, and I think something, I don't know how far when we write something, that we try to get a peer review on it. And how actually we do all this through digital means, how we get into getting reviews, sending our paper or our publication to the reviewers and getting their responses, improving on it. All this, of course, is something that we hanker after and we try to actually keep doing. Other things, I think personal experiences and professional publication, that's my own actually. Few things I would like to emphasize. Ethics, I did say. Whatever digital means are available to facilitate us, how much do we rely on them? How much do we have to rely on them? How much still we need to master the language that we are using, English for that matter, if we are talking in English, how much actually we rely on our own ability? An ethical question, of course, which indirectly means plagiarism, that I didn't want to highlight much. Quality oriented, which journals do you pick on? I know online, a lot of business is going on. I even hear like my researcher fellows telling me, you pay for it and you get published. So I don't know if that really is an honor that you can win, but something, of course, related to what sort of quality actually you are buying, publishing in that manner. Let's not forget that whatever else we do when we are writing research, that we are getting into academic writing. What sort of writing that is? Of course, there are multiple types of writings. That academic writing is a different kind of writing, which we talk at a certain level to our peers, to our colleagues at an expert level. Are we talking to expert? Are we talking to our trainees? Are we talking to our supervisees? Are we talking to our students? There can be layers to academic writing as well. And that is, I think, where we need to train ourselves as researchers of the kind that we want to be. Processes, of course, are lot many, but editing is something that takes lots of time. Never think that you have written an article and it's done. If you get it reviewed multiple times, you re-edit it multiple times at the same time. Finally, how do we shape it? Shape it for what purpose? Which journal you are writing for? What kind of style sheet you have to use? What kind of thematic cohesion they are asking for? Where is it that you connect with them? And I think these are the questions that carry on. I have also in my handout referred to many pre and post workshop readings, which are already available with the CLT at FCCU. So you can ask them if anything is missing. You can always, notify to them, and I will see if I can still provide the things that could be missing. I just want to pick finally on one MLA newsletter, which I have not forwarded to you, but I think I'll give a copy of it to CLT, and you can they can forward it to you. I just want to read from here. This is 2019 newsletter, and a few things that it says. The right to the humanities. That's the article, and I'm reading just a sentence from here. There is, however, another kind of innovation and growth that is not always visible in American higher education. namely the role of migrants as innovators. I mean, we are all migrants in one way or other. The moment we enter into research, we are migrants to research area, and we should consider ourselves like that. Migrants as innovators and agents of transformation in the arts and humanities. The other thing I wanted to read is, if the 2019 convention, because it's way back, is any indication, it should be clear that digital humanities is neither a fad nor a passing. It's not a fashion, it's a practice. It is there now. And I think I just wanted to highlight for this particular session that whatever else we are doing through humanities, one thing that we got to learn is the computational language. And I think that is where the change is coming up. And digital humanities is one way to look at how things are changing and how actually we need to address this change. Thank you so much. I would like to open the house for any comment or discussion. And may I seek some help from Gohar Saab to come over and check?
Hello, sir.
How?
I'm here.
Yeah.
Uh,
So if we have
Participants,
unmuted everybody, if we have unmuted,
I
how can I reduce my screen? I
I
don't
have
want it.
allowed participants to unmute themselves. So if anyone wants to comment
Yeah,
or wants to say anything, they can either write in the chat box or
yeah,
can unmute themselves and speak.
yes,
I will
please.
quickly launch the polling as well. And meanwhile, the participants can poll. We have comment from American University, Miss Emmeline. She says, thank you. Then we have Mr. Hafiz Rukhsar Ahmed says, please write the name of recommended books. Show sir when I will circulate the material
Yeah,
and the video recording, I will make sure that I mention the names. Miss
right.
Sabah Khalil Tour says, excellent speaker, the comment. And then we have Muhammad Saleh Habib. While the articles are skeptical about AI truly overcoming human endeavors in unique thought process and creating or recreating knowledge, what about the new forms of AI? Example, ChatGPT 4, technology that can disrupt human scholarship in the upcoming years. Are they endangering the true efforts of humanities scholar, and is humanities in jeopardy of producing quality research in the future?
I think it ends up with the keynote where is like, is humanities being jeopardized by artificial intelligence and chat GPT, whatever other formats, of course, in the future would be available. And I think that is where I wanted to make the point, this whole presentation of mine, that whatever dystopia is being created by artificial intelligence, I think there is a lot of scope for humanities to grow still in terms of how actually technologies need to be shaken hand with, how technologies need to be understood, how they need to be used. I think I can give example of Frankenstein for that matter. Machinery has always been created and innovated and constructed by humans. Um, what matters more is human mind, your own brain. And if you are using it for whatever purpose, because humanities, after all, takes care of critical thinking, and philosophy being the science of sciences, makes you think critically more and more, even in terms of self-reflection. If you create a machine, how actually that machine is going to serve you, rather you all the time serving the machine. And if that is the question, I think humanity still offers lot many answers in terms of creativity and how do we create what is to come next. So it doesn't stop, but it actually enhances critical thinking. So please stay creative, stay original, look for what's new. And I think even before the scientists would land on the moon, there was a dream about landing on the moon. And there is a dream about landing on the Mars. And I think that is what being carried scientifically and being made practically possible. But what after we land on the moon? How do we then think differently? So I think it's more about how humanities promote the next. And if that is that we keep alive, there is no threat to the humanities. There is no threat to art. There is no threat to how we got to think what we got to think.
Mr. Saleh says we can't help being skeptics of things, AI not excluding. He has a comment.
Yeah, so that's your right. And it's good to be skeptic actually, because skepticism leads you to more avenues. You got to question. I think I'll give an easy example. Like in a classroom, if you don't let your students question you, I don't think you can develop new things. I mean, innovation is always possible when you question. So being skeptic is a very healthy sign. Is AI the end of it? Is AI the Messiah or the Savior? Is that the end of the world? Of course not. It's one kind of intelligence, and let's accept it. Let's try to bring change through it. Let's also keep the ethical question alive in terms of what is it that exactly need to be known. Like for that matter, atom being used for various purposes, along with medicinal purposes, is also being misused for various other purposes. So can be true about ChatGPT. So where is it that we use it and for what purpose? And that is where I think humanities brings this awareness, including ethical awareness. I don't want to miss the artistic side of humanities, the art, the beauty of it, that you also find on screen as well. But where is it that you also engage yourself ethically on these points? I hope I have answered the question directly or indirectly.
Thank you, sir. We have around 50 participants so far, and only 35 have responded to the polling. You're all requested to please respond.
Okay.
And next we have Dr. Meer from the English department. She says that, so you mentioned a book on research methodology with a chapter on digital humanities. Can you please tell us name of the book with writers again?
Yeah, it is a reader's guide. I hope it's visible to you. A reader's guide to the contemporary literary theory by Raman Selden. This is available online. It's downloadable. You just remember Raman Selden, S-E-L-D-E-N. You can download, and there are 3 interesting chapters now added to it, the latest edition. One is on world literature and digital humanities. And there is also eco-criticism and thing theory. So new theories are emerging actually. And I am very much a theoretical person. We all are actually, the humanities people are to be theoretical because they think more theoretically rather than practically, though they do practice as well. But I think this will help you in terms of knowing things about digital humanities. It won't make you an expert in terms of using it. That you have to do through practice. But I think it's a good help in knowing more about digital humanities.
Thank you, sir. We have Ms. Tazeen Bukhari. She says, thank you so much, Dr. Waseem. Very thought-challenging session regarding the digitalization. It's really overwhelming. However, it is pushing our innovative capacities that I think we need to keep a check and maintain balance.
Yeah, that is, I think, where a good thing about Ali's are, and the crisis is that it ends up on innovation and new ways, finding new avenues. You turn back from a street and you move to a new street. And that is very helpful. So if at any point you feel threatened that artificial intelligence is perhaps blocking your way, well, I think it's not. You can learn it and you will find that it opens up to many other avenues. So digital humanities, where we see data, algorithm, all being concorded so that we think, oh yeah, that's reality. That's a means to one kind of reality. And there are other realities and truths to be explored yet. If that is not something that humanities, arts, literature teaches us to keep moving and thinking differently, like in terms of, let me give you an example, maybe again coming back to literature because my background is literature, hermeneutics for that matter, interpretation. I mean, you read the same book 1,000 times, Shakespeare or anybody, and you keep reading so many times differently. How does that happen? And I think that's innovative way of thinking. So let's not get discouraged in terms of that there is something that, because I don't know, I haven't experienced myself, but what I look at artificial intelligence to be a good source for common communication. But please remember, communication and information is part, maybe a tiny part of knowledge, but it's not knowledge. We are talking of academics, we are talking of universities, we are talking of higher education, we are talking of knowledge. And if we are talking of knowledge, I don't think it's so easy to capture knowledge in terms of making it a capsule and just digesting it and becoming very knowledgeable and a wise person overnight. So let's not be discouraged by whatever is being done. One interesting thing that one of the articles had mentioned, and I enjoyed that actually, that Chat GPT is good for producing papers, but then the sentence ended with that the paper is B quality paper. It's not going to be A quality paper. And that is where your alertness as teacher also comes in. Where is it you check? And how do you check your students to be following a certain means that leads them to getting perfect, not exactly, but at least mimicking perfection and producing good papers after a long time. But where is it that originality still is not available with them? And I think that is the challenge for the teachers. Technology could help many. It can make the system more efficient. It can bring in a solution to the problems of many in terms of communication. But again, communication is one means to knowledge. It is not knowledge in itself.
Thank you so much, sir. We have two comments from Mr. Rizwan Ullah from the Computer Science Department at Former Christian College. He says, Dr. Waseem Anwar, very nice and informative session. And thanks CLT department for arranging such sessions. Thank you, sir. We have Hafiz Rukhsar Ahmed from Allama Iqbal University. He says, thank you, Dr. Saab, for sharing such an informative session. And that's pretty much it. We don't have any more comments or questions. So
that would
thank you.
set us to be very much on time, actually.
Yes,
If
sir.
we don't
Yes.
have any participants, asking who would like to ask anything, I am available, through CLT. You can always forward your questions and let's see how we can handle them maybe next time. But so far, I am really grateful to CLT and to Dr. Roxana for inviting me and to all the participants. 50, you said more than 50, 51,
Yes,
50.
sir. Yes, sir. The maximum count was more than 60 participants who joined.
Yeah, well, thank you everybody for being visible or not visible. I don't know. That's where surveillance comes in. You are being checked for what you are doing. So,
So we
but keep
have,
thinking creatively.
sorry to cut you out, sir. We have another comment from Miss Maheen Zia.
Mhm.
She's also from former Christian College. She says,
Right.
creating knowledge is something they say AI can do. It keeps teaching and updating itself. Yes,
Mhm.
agree with the checking part. We are teachers have to spend much more time making sure whether it's students' original work. So this
Yeah,
is a comment from me.
Maheen, I would like to maybe we need to have more workshops on that. I'm not an expert on telling you, okay, how to detect what is original and what is not. And we all have this, say, this inbuilt schemata and system in us, where we just can easily make a guessing game as teachers, finding out, okay, this person's, and that's more to do with assessment, your overall yearly assessment, where you keep going with the student, let them walk beside you, and you keep actually assessing where the person was and where the person is. Of course, it makes us more alert, and which is good. But just thinking that GPT is going to help in completely in making you somebody. I mean, um, look at robots for that matter. The other day they were showing it. I think it was a UN session. Yeah, where humanoid actually, the humanoid session that was being done in the UN Assembly. I did notice that. Yeah, the UN conference on AI, and the title was AI for Good, which is artificial intelligence for good. And this was done on July 2023. It was in the same month, and humanoid robots are being introduced. Remember, humanoid and robots. So it's still maybe a dream or a desire to make machine behave like humans. If we want to do other way around, like we becoming machines, that's our choice. But I think the end product of all progress is how human we can be learning through humanities. I don't want to be very abstract on that and philosophical, but I think we all know where the truth lies. So,
Ms. Sabha says adaptive AI can be used to our benefit. It is another tool that is created to support us. It is
uh,
up to us to manage it.
yeah, I think, yeah, that's why I said we need more workshops on that. I'm not an expert on digitizing everything. We all need to team up. We all need to have sessions where we start sharing our experiences. It's very important. And having workshops in terms of, say, for that matter, those who teach English, they just talk about how actually you try to find out new ways of making people learn English differently. These tools can be helpful, as I said before, for normal communication, of course, and we have to support them. But then we also have to not uh, dump human creativity. I think use of brain is something that humans do uh, very innately. They are born to use their brain. And I think those who use their brain are healthier than those who don't use their brains. So one stage crossed, there are other stages coming up. So the more we have workshops, the more we talk about, the more we share about our experiences, like how do we detect the questions of motivation, incentives, ethics related to how to use digital means for not only teaching but learning. The more open we are about these things, the more we will progress and the more honest we will grow. So we need to be very clear that that we have to do some workshops on that.
Thank you so much, Dr. Waseem, for your valuable time and for conducting this insightful session. And thank you for all the participants for joining. And
Yes.
we'll end this now.
I also finally say thanks to all the participants. They are reducing now from 52
Yes,
to
sir.
49.
Yes,
So
sir.
I can see like, yeah, they have the right to actually leave the class now. Me too. But thank you so much once again, CLT, for giving me this chance, and to Dr. Zia in particular for actually making it possible that we still interact from all the various angles and talk about. Dr. Zia is there. I don't know if she wants to say something. You are very welcome to say, yeah. but I was just thanking you actually. You need to unmute yourself.
Ma'am, you need to unmute.
I see that you have very satisfied participants, and we are very happy to see a lot of them from other universities. And it's a joy always to sit through your session. Thank you, Waseem.
Thank you so much. Thanks a lot.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.